Hello, welcome to chapter 10, and this is the final chapter, and now we are on the conceptual number 4, doing the facial exaggeration and modification of character. So it's based on a realism that we do, and now we kind of taking a step further and kind of designing our own face and sort of making it maintain the realism, but exaggerate it a little bit, make the character look a little more interesting and memorable. So I'm using overlay and using the skin tone on my palette, laying out the first color, and now I'm adding some accent to the skin tone. And now he's kind of look cartoony, so it's easier to kind of applying like a bright color and things like that. Because since his face exaggerated, his color could also be exaggerated. So we're adding some skin tone, pinkish tone, and red tone, and some yellow tone, things like so. So now we're just gonna play with it, adding some red onto overlay, and now we're using multiply to pull back in the color, the darker value that we lost a little bit. It's kind of tricky sometimes because some color in the skin tone that I pick could sort of brighten up the value that you have. So it's kind of hard to, you have to kind of like use it wisely and stuff, and also pull back the color, the value that you lost on the stage of that you were doing the applying the color. So I use multiply to do that, and the overlay to do so, to bring out the color. And now I'm adding some purple onto the lips, a little purple onto under eyes, and the blue is gonna be the light source, sort of the cooler spot that got hit by the light. Certain part will be bluish, so it's keep the character some temperature that brought out. So now I merge everything down, make a copy, and I'm using another overlay color again, layer again, and just kind of like overlay the surrounding color. I was picking brown before, but now I'm picking green and kind of painting green, a little bit overlapping his face. Just use 50%, not too much. There you go. Because I picked green because his face is kind of going a little bit toward the warm side, and it's kind of red, so I picked a complementary color on the background, so I might make his face pop up a little more. And I also use multiply to darken everything up. And then I'm gonna pick layer, new adjustment layer, color balance. Do the same thing as the previous tutorial, using yellow, pulling in the mid-tone yellow and red, and then magenta a little bit. There you go. It's kind of like look at your image and see what kind of color range you want them. And highlight, I'm gonna go with the cool tone, and then shadow, I'm gonna go with the warm tone again. Kind of like experiment with it and see what kind of color you like it to be, things like that. So skin is pretty warm. I'm gonna tone that down a little bit on the opacity of the adjustment layer. That looks about right, so I merge it down. And now I'm just gonna use green and kind of apply like the sort of texture, instead of like, sometimes I don't really like soft brush into the background that much. I like the things that giving it some sort of texture things in here and there, and if it's too soft then it doesn't look painterly. And now I'm going into his face and using a normal layer and trying to clean up his face and give it more definition, using the existing color that was there, refining it a little more. I think his lip looks a little too dark compared to the rest of the face, but now I'm going in and tweaking his eyebrows a little bit. There you go. And I'm using 80 to 100% at this point, because we have all the value that we kind of arrange and things. And the upper eyelid darker, and some definition in the lower eyelid. So the method is pretty much similar to whatever we previously done. and some crease above the eyes, and reshaping his eyes a little bit more. There you go. Same thing on the other side, and the crease above the eyes, and doing some texture on the below the eyes, and adding some eyebrows on top. And now I'm going down to his nose and repainting the things, and rearranging the side of his forehead, kind of giving it some little, maybe middle crease onto the forehead, something like that. There you go. Adding some strain to the hair. That one's a little too long, so some shape of the hair, making it kind of stylized a little bit more. Go back to the eyes, and I think I'm gonna give one of his eyes sort of maybe the accidental from making a sword or something, and give him kind of like a scar on the face. It could also be warriors again, but yeah, it's kind of give him some certain look. I think the face kind of go that way, so kind of making it look a little unique, things like that when you design character. So now I'm going to try to fix his nose and slim it down a little bit. Gonna try to blend those things with the forehead of the section in between the eyebrows. And now I'm doing the side of the nose using soft brush, pulling it down, and then soft brush here on the cheekbones. Now I'm using the hard brush to interact with it, because I don't like it when it go too soft. I like to see the brush stroke on the face. I like to play with edge, and I think that's a proper way to paint, is to, you know, playing around with edge and things like that, not making everything too soft. And now I'm adding some darker color, and some darker value of fixing up his the side of his neck, refining it a little more. And some darker value into his eyebrows, upper eyelid. I think that's, yeah, that dark kind of fits in there. Sometimes it doesn't. You gotta measure it, eye measure it, and see if it fits. Sometimes it look too dark. You can't just apply like a darker value everywhere. That's kind of like balance it out with the rest of the image. So now I'm refining his nose, pulling out some value that might work right there on the middle of the nose. There you go. I still have to go in and refine the middle of his nose, look a little too bright. And now some highlight on one of his cheeks, and gonna fix his lips a little more. There you go. Add some darker value into the corner of the lips and in the middle, and then now I'm tweaking his chin. So maybe that a little too dark, so I'm going to use soft brush to kind of blend everything in together, because it's supposed to be rounded right there. And go back to the hard brush, and then add his little beard on the tip of the chin right there. There you go. And refining his jaw, just use a scribble. There you go, and a shadow underneath it. Sometimes scribble work and it's fun, especially in a cartoony style. You just use a you know, a good opacity and go from there. And now I'm putting some lighter value on top of his upper lips. It's an edge that usually get hit by the lights. And maybe have some light on the lower lips also. And tone down that highlight on the nose a little bit. This is a little too light along the way, so it's not. And there's some right there. It works on the side of the nose. And now I'm kind of trying to refine his neck. This guy looks pretty sort of painterly, and I want to keep it like that, making, you know, brush stroke visible, but it's still read as a face or as a, you know, a nice painting. And now I merge things down, make a copy, and I'm choosing the bright blue again, using the cool light and warm shadow. You can do the opposite also, warm shadow, cool shadow, warm lights. But since we're doing the skin, it's often easier to do a cool light rather than a warm light. And now I'm adding some highlight onto the tip of the nose, forehead. It just right away is kind of pop things out when you're using the complementary color onto the, you know, like the cool and warm, balance it out. The nose popped out, adds color to his eye. And reshaping his lips a little bit. And scribbling his ears. Sometimes you can just leave it as scribble, it's okay. Have fun with it. It's like if you don't have fun with what you do, then, you know, really what's the point? But keep in mind that while you have fun, it had to make sense. You can leave the shadow scribble, and that's okay. You can't just like go and scribble. It has to make sense in a sense of like, okay, you're having fun, but yeah, you're still keeping it right, and you're still keeping your goal in mind of what you want to achieve and things like that. And tone the cheekbone down so a little bit, and pulling the readjusting the value of the chin on his chin. Trying to decide if I should, yeah, that might work. I should make it as big as his lips on the chin, and darken his underneath the eye socket a little bit more. So now he looks kind of cool. And adding some light onto his shoulder plate, things like that. Maybe his metal shoulder plate. And now I'm going back into the face, adding some light on the corner right there. It's a little too high. It's okay. Okay, that's good. And do the same thing on the other side. So it's kind of distinguish the plane between the side of the nose bridge and the eye socket. Now I'm going to his forehead and refine it, cleaning it up, adding some hair texture, cleaning it up. There you go. Maybe some scar here and there. Yeah, some scribbling part onto a certain part, and it still makes sense. Because this one is kind of, you know, a little stylized, cartoony sort of the way, so you can apply scribbling onto the face, leaving it a brush stroke. So it's kind of your signature. So I'm gonna taper his head a little bit more. There you go. On the side, so he looks alright. And then add some shadow onto the side of his shoulder plate. I'm not gonna worry about the neck at this point, since we're not gonna really doing that. just gonna focus on the face and tweak it as far as we can. So now I'm tweaking the lips, making it looks like it belongs together. Everything, tied everything together is just stage. There you go. Having some shadow coming down there. So now we're almost there. I think it's get to the point that I kind of dig it. I still have to reshape the nose a little bit here and there. Still have something that can be tweaked. Artists never end. It depends on when you satisfy and you stop. You can always go in and refine it to be to the point of as good as you want them to be. And sometimes it's really tricky when you're trying to create something that doesn't exist. But you have to use your knowledge based on the realism of something, like the human anatomy, human facial structure, and you paint that a lot, and you're trying to design something else, and you sort of borrow the element of whatever you've done and creating something based on certain things. Like creature, also if you draw a lot of animals, then you'll be able to design a believable, convincingly looking creature, because you deal with animals a lot. You draw a lot of animals, you know how their bone structure works, you know how things are put together, like you draw a lot of quadrupeds or a lot of fish, things like that. It helps. And you draw a lot of people, then humanoid or something that human looks alike, or exaggeration of a human form to make some kind of cartoony looking, then that should be that should not be hard for you. If you draw a lot of people, then when you do some facial structure that sort of similar to human, like this one, it should be fun. So that's kind of like exaggeration. Anyways, we're almost there. It's like a little thing tweaking here and there. At the tweaking stage, you just use 100% because you don't want to muddy things up. You just want to put whatever the exact color that you want there, and just put it there. And now I'm gonna refine his chin a little bit. Maybe I'll use outline or something. Putting their facial hair out a little more, giving him a better looking silhouette. Just whatever you can do to make your character looks good. Then make a copy, save it. Oh, I didn't save it, so no, don't forget to save, because sometimes your computer crash. Good thing it didn't crash. But anyways, so here's a kind of facial exaggeration and modification. This character is like a blacksmith sort of guy. He's still pretty buff, so you can put him in some kind of story that he probably wouldn't go in the same kind of story with that guy, because his face looked pretty stylized. He probably go into another sort of design set or something like that. So, but once you can achieve realism, then you can pretty much do a lot of things you wanted to do. So I hope this tutorial is giving you some insight and you learn something from it. And whatever you want to do, good luck with it, and try hard, draw a lot, and go to live drawing. Alright, thanks for supporting iDrawGirls.com, and thanks for watching the tutorial all the way to the end, and have a great day. Enjoy. Now go draw. Bye bye.